Hi Pre-Algebra, this is Mrs. Freeman and this is lesson 6.2. So now we're talking about the surface area of a cylinder. Go ahead and label your page and pause this if you need to, because we're going to get started. So surface area of a cylinder. First of all, this is a cylinder right here. So think of like a can of pop or a bottle of like spray deodorant would be a cylinder. So what it consists of, or the net of it, if I unfolded it, is two circles on both ends. And then this middle part in blue here is just a rectangle if I unrolled it completely. So the formula for the surface area of a cylinder, you've got two circles, and the area of a circle is pi r squared. And like I said, there is two of them, this one and this one. So this first part of the formula is 2 pi r squared. That represents my two circles. Okay, and then this part right here is going to represent the area of the rectangle. So the area of a rectangle is length times width. And in this case, one of my dimensions is h, the height of the cylinder. And the other dimension, this red line that you see here, that is wrapped all the way around your circle. So it's the circumference of a circle, which is 2 pi r. So the second part of this is 2 pi r times h, and that represents the area of my rectangle in the middle. So just like the surface area of a rectangular prism, I'm getting this formula from breaking down all the different pieces in the net. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite that formula for us. It was 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And this will be something that's given to you. On the state test, you do not need to memorize this formula, or on our chapter 5 and 6 test, I'm going to give you this formula, so don't worry. But what you need to know is what this formula means and how it works. So what you need to do is go through and label these things. So you have this 4 here, which is the distance halfway across the circle. That is called your radius, r. And then 3 here represents how tall this cylinder is. So that is h. So my job now is to just go through and plug these things in where they go. So I've got 2, again, side by side means multiply. So I am going to multiply all these things. 2 times pi times r squared, but r is 4. So I'm going to plug in 4 squared. Plus, I've got 2 times pi times r times h. So times r was 4 and h was 3. Okay, so what you're going to do, we haven't had a whole lot of experience with this pi, but all it is a decimal. But it goes on forever and ever and ever and ever, so we don't really use the decimal for it. We use the symbol a lot more often. So on your calculator, there is actually a button that looks just like that. And so that's what you're going to hit for pi. So this first part here, I'm going to type in 2 times pi. I'm going to hit the pi button on my calculator. It should be down the left side of your calculator if you have one like mine in class. If you have a different one, you can email me a picture and I can show you where yours is, but it should be easy to find. It has a picture of pi on it. Okay, so I typed in 2 times pi times 4 squared, and that gives me 32 pi. And then I've got 2 times pi times 4 times 3. So I'm just going to type that in just like it looks. 2 times pi times 4 times 3. That is 24 pi. So it's possible, depending on the calculator that you have, that yours is going ahead and multiplying this decimal in. Ours that we have in class do not do that, and I'm going to do it at the very end just to make my answer a little bit prettier, because when you multiply that in, it's going to be a big long decimal that I didn't want to deal with yet. So adding these together at the end, it's just like saying I've got 32 pies, and I'm going to get 24 more pies. 32 plus 24 is 56, so that means I have 56 pies total. Okay, so if you type in 56 pi in your calculator, it's probably going to give you this back if you have one like me or like ours in class. And if you want to round that to, I believe Delta Math is going to have you round to the nearest thousandth. So what I'm going to do to turn that into a decimal is hit that double arrows button, just like we did for Pythagorean theorem, and it will turn it into a decimal for me. And it is 175.9291886. That's what my calculator says. But I want to round that to the nearest thousandth. So that is 3 decimal places. So I'm going to look at my decimal point. This is 3 decimal places right here, so I would cut it off here. You do need to look at the number after. Mine is 1. And make sure it's not 5 or bigger, because if it is 5 or bigger, you're going to have to round up. Mine is not, so my answer is just 175.929, and then millimeters squared, because this is surface area. Okay, just like surface area of a rectangular prism, you don't actually have to break this down in half like we did. If you want to just type in this whole thing right here, that will get you the answer as well. And we will try that this time on example 2. So we're going to find the surface area of a cylinder with a radius of 3. So it's telling me that R is 3 and a height of 4. So I'm going to put 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. It's telling me to use 3.14 for pi. I am not going to do that just because I have a button for it on my calculator. It is possible that you're going to get to a question on the state test and they're going to say use 3.14 for pi. So if that happens, you can go ahead and use the pi button and just pick the answer choice that's really close to your answer. Or instead of multiplying by the pi button at the end, you can just multiply by 3.14. It's very close to the same thing, but the pi button gives you more of an exact answer. It said that on example 1 as well, but I just ignored it. Alright, so putting stuff where it goes. I've got 2 times pi times r squared. R is 3 this time. Plus 2 times pi times r, which is 3, times h, which is 4. So you can go ahead and just type this whole thing in. 2 times pi button times 3 squared plus 2 times pi button times 3 times 4. And what I get is 42 pi, which is the correct answer. If your answer choices are left in terms of pi, then this would be what you would click. But if it says to round your answer in decimal form, which is what Delta Math is going to have you do today, then you're going to click that double arrows button, change it to a decimal, and that decimal is 131.9468915. So again, I want to round that to the nearest thousandth. So I'm going to cut it off at the 6th. That's my 3rd decimal point. This is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay, and the number after 6 is 5 or bigger. So I'm going to round that up to 131.947 inches squared. All right, one more. It says example 3, how much paper is used for the label on this can of peas? So remember, surface area is the outside, and this label is on the outside. But the special thing about this is it's not on the top and the bottom. So the circles on the top and the bottom, I don't need a label for those. So instead of using the whole formula, I'm going to go back to the first slide. Let me get a darker color. We're not putting a label on these two circles. We're just putting a label on the rectangle part in the middle. So all I need for that is this part of the formula, and it's called the lateral surface area, 2 pi r h. So the 2 pi r squared part took care of my circles on the top and bottom, but I don't need that this time. I just need the middle. So I just need 2 pi r h for the lateral surface area. Now putting these where they go, r is 1, because that's my radius here, and h is 2. So I'm just plugging in 2 times pi times 1 times 2. Which is just 4 pi, and if they want that as a decimal, it is 12.566 inches squared. And that's it. Go ahead and try your assignment and let me know if you need help.